We should know more about the past than the future, but in many ways, we don't. Some of the things our ancestors did are so complex or enigmatic that they still elude our understanding today, as do many of the structures and objects they created. What made sense to them, whether for spiritual, technological, or social reasons, is often a true mystery to us. In this video, we've gathered some of the most intriguing examples of these discoveries, mysterious finds that continue to raise questions and may never be fully answered. If we say the words decorated eggs, your first thought will likely be Easter. However, the practice of decorating eggs for special occasions is much older than any Easter tradition. This custom dates back at least 3,000 years before the Christian era. Ornate ostrich eggs have been found in various parts of the ancient world, including prestigious sites like the Tomb of Isis in Volsi, Italy. These eggs frequently appear in collections belonging to Bronze Age and Iron Age rulers and elites, suggesting they were objects of great value, perhaps even symbols of status or collector's items, similar to Fabergé eggs in modern times. More recent studies show that these eggs came from ostriches originating in the Mediterranean region, with some specimens from North Africa and others from the Eastern Mediterranean. Most strikingly, eggs produced at one end of this vast area have been found at the other, indicating the existence of a sophisticated commercial network far more extensive than previously thought. To this day, there are no historical records of such an extensive trade route 5,000 years ago in this region. Therefore, these discoveries may force archaeologists to radically rethink what we know about the beginnings of trade in the ancient world. We are on our way to England, more precisely to Derbyshire, where the mysterious Anchor Church caves have confused archaeologists for generations. It's clear that someone carved these rocks by hand to live there. But who did it? That was always the big question. Until, in July 2021, a surprising new theory emerged. According to this new idea, the caves may have been the secret hideout of an Anglo-Saxon king living in exile in the 9th century. And that changes everything. Until then, it was thought that the place was just an 18th century architectural folly, one of those eccentric constructions that the wealthy built just to show off their power. But if that older theory is wrong, then we are talking about the oldest complete interior of a house in all of England. And the most incredible thing, it still has the floor, the ceiling, the windows, and even internal doors. Some archaeologists have compared the construction style to the Anglo-Saxon crypt nearby in Repton. And what about the king? It would be Eardwulf of Northumbria, who was deposed in the year 806. They say he lived in exile until he died in 830 and was buried in Bredon-on-the-Hill, which is just 8 kilometers away. The dates match, the places coincide. Could we have just discovered the secret hideout of a forgotten king? No one knows for certain what caused the downfall of the powerful Mayan Empire in Central America. We know it collapsed in the 8th century. But why remains one of archaeology's greatest mysteries? There has been talk of prolonged drought, environmental collapse, overpopulation, tribal wars. But what if the true reason was a brutal civil war? This is what some archaeologists are beginning to suspect, because of a series of sinister finds called trophy skulls. In recent years, dozens of them have been discovered in regions that once belonged to the Mayans: Mexico, Belize, and Honduras. They all have something in common. They date from the 8th century and belong to people who died shortly before the abandonment of the great Mayan cities. One of them, in particular, stands out. It was found in southern Belize at a site called Pacalna. The skull is decorated with images of fire and wild animals, symbols clearly associated with the military of the northern Mayan territory. If northern armies reached so far south, it could mean that local leaders lost control, and the military intervened. Other skulls analyzed in the laboratory show the same trend. All were from men from the north. The question now is inevitable. Did the Mayan civilization literally fight to the death? It may seem unlikely, but the evidence is accumulating, and the story may be much bloodier than we imagined. For a long time, conventional archaeologists said that Neanderthals became extinct simply because they were less intelligent than Homo sapiens. But does that idea still make sense? New discoveries suggest that Neanderthals were far more advanced than we imagined. In the Italian caves studied by Paola Villa and her team, clear evidence was found that they mastered a technology that would only much later be attributed to modern humans: the use of adhesives for tools. We are talking about a kind of resin-based glue, created from pine trees and, in some cases, mixed with beeswax. This glue was used in a process called hafting, that is, joining a stone, bone, or wood blade to a handle. This allowed them to transform basic tools into sharp spears, leather scrapers, and more efficient cutting instruments. What's more, these Neanderthals lived about 55,000 years ago and traveled long distances just to get the right resin. This requires planning, memory, knowledge of materials, and intelligence. For a long time, we thought that only Homo sapiens were capable of this type of technological thinking. But these discoveries show the opposite. Have we underestimated Neanderthals out of pure historical prejudice? Everything indicates yes. Humans have been drawn to psychoactive substances since ancient times, but the reasons behind this fascination have changed greatly over time. To better understand, let's literally peek inside the backpack of a millennia-old shaman. In 2019, archaeologists found an extraordinary pouch hidden in a remote rock shelter in the Andes mountain range in Bolivia. It had been there for over 1,000 years, perfectly preserved by the dry mountain climate. The pouch is made of leather, and what it contained left scientists speechless. All the basic ingredients to prepare ayahuasca, an entheogenic drink known to cause intense hallucinations. For shamans, these visions were not mere delusions. They revealed messages, cures, even the future. But that wasn't all. Inside the pouch, there were also spatulas made of llama bone, nasal sniffing tablets, and even a small bag made of sewn fox snouts, objects that probably had sacred meaning. The rituals were solitary, and shamans sought these isolated rock shelters to achieve altered states away from the outside world. But there's a question that still intrigues archaeologists today. Why was this sacred backpack left behind? One of the darkest, though possible, hypotheses is that the shaman suffered a fatal fall during one of his visions, under the influence of ayahuasca, and never returned. We have known about the mysterious plain of jars in Laos for quite some time. Scattered across the Xianghuang Plateau and the country's highlands, these immense stone-carved jars can be between 1 and 3 meters tall and weigh over 10 tons each. They are estimated to be about 2,000 years old. But their true purpose is still an enigma. However, a relatively recent discovery may shed new light on the mystery. In May 2019, a team of Australian archaeologists found 137 more jars distributed across 15 new sites, and some of them may be more than 2,500 years old. Louise Shawan, a member of the team, believes that the jars were used in funerary rituals. The theory suggests that human bodies were placed inside the jars and left to decompose, so that later the bones could be removed and buried. Stone carvings and personal objects found next to the jars, such as jewelry and beads, seem to confirm this hypothesis. Did you think they were just giant ceremonial urns? What if, in reality, we are looking at a huge prehistoric open-air cemetery? Japan's Kofun tombs have fascinated archaeologists for decades, and the more we investigate, the more enigmas seem to arise. In January 2022, an intriguing discovery was made thanks to satellite images. All the tombs are perfectly aligned with the sunrise. These keyhole-shaped structures are scattered throughout the country, and each one points in the exact same direction. This cannot be a coincidence. There is undoubtedly a profound meaning behind this alignment. The problem is that we may never discover what it is. Japanese traditions claim that the Kofun are linked to Japan's first mythological emperors, and therefore access to them is highly restricted. Archaeologists cannot enter the tombs, and excavations are completely forbidden. Because of these restrictions, the solar alignment was only revealed now, with the help of satellite technology. Most of these burial mounds were built between the 3rd and 7th centuries, and the largest of all, the Daisen Kofun, is considered a UNESCO World Heritage Site, supposedly dedicated to Emperor Nintoku. And for now, that's all we can state with some certainty. The rest remains buried, both in the ground and in the silence of tradition. There are so many ancient artifacts buried in Egypt that we may never discover them all. Despite hundreds of archaeological sites having been excavated over the years, a new mystery always emerges from the sands. A notable example arose in July 2018, when a huge black sarcophagus was discovered at a construction site in Alexandria. The piece, dating back about 2,300 years, belongs to the Ptolemaic period and was found 5 meters deep by workers from the Supreme Council of Antiquities while excavating to build new offices in Sidi Gabr. The sarcophagus, made of black granite, was still completely sealed. A very worn bust was found next to it, possibly a clue as to who was buried inside, but time and erosion left the sculpture virtually unrecognizable. Only people of great wealth and status at that time would have been buried in something so heavy and sophisticated. Therefore, when the 15-ton lid is finally removed, some believe we may be standing before the remains of someone extremely important, perhaps even Alexander the Great. But don't rush to place bets. The full excavation could take years. Speaking of surprising ancient burial sites, an oil drilling project in Iran accidentally led to the discovery of an ancestral cemetery in July 2022. The discovery occurred in Avaz, the capital of Khuzestan province, and revealed something unusual. The dead were not buried in a traditional way, but rather inside structures resembling giant urns. Scientific analyses indicate that these tombs are about 2,000 years old. Interestingly, all are aligned towards a nearby river, which led experts to believe that the burials followed the precepts of Mithraism, an ancient religion that preceded Zoroastrianism in Iran. Mithra was worshipped as the god of the sun, justice, contracts, and war. Although it was common at that time to bury babies or young children in urns, this does not seem to apply in this case, where most of the buried individuals were adults. Iranian archaeologists would like more time to explore the site, but the oil project cannot be delayed for long. There may be much more to discover there, but they will have to race against time. Next, we move to Saudi Arabia, where in January 2022, archaeologists revealed the surprising discovery of a network of over 4,000-year-old highways, a mystery that challenges everything we thought we knew about mobility and social organization in the ancient world. Experts now believe that in northwestern Arabia, the populations of that era created extensive funerary avenues, lined with thousands of burial monuments that connected pastures and oases in a highly sophisticated system. This contradicts the traditional view that ancient communities in the region were isolated and poorly organized, suggesting instead an impressive level of social, religious, and economic connection over 4 millennia ago. As part of the same archaeological project, it was also discovered that the enigmatic mastadals, rectangular stone structures, are much older than previously thought, dating back over 7,000 years. The pendant-shaped tombs found in the Khaybar oasis appear to be about 5,000 years old. Little by little, the deep history of the Bronze Age in the Arabian Peninsula begins to emerge from the sands, and everything indicates that we are still only at the beginning. Our next recent discovery may be the most important archaeological find of the decade. An entire underground city was found in Turkey in April 2022, and archaeologists believe it may be the largest of its kind in the world. Excavating this lost city will be a slow and challenging process, as only about 3% of it has been revealed so far, with new tunnels, rooms, passages, and artifacts being discovered almost daily. Interestingly, this city has gone unnoticed until now, even though it is right in the middle of Mardin and Midyat, an area already famous among archaeologists and recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The city has been provisionally named Matiate, which means City of Caves. Experts believe it was built about 1,900 years ago, possibly as an underground refuge. In the 2nd century, Christianity was not yet an officially accepted religion, so many of its followers needed to hide to escape persecution from the Roman Empire. It is possible that at the height of its occupation, up to 70,000 people lived there, in the shadows, protected by the darkness of Matiate. The same ancient shipwreck that gave us the enigmatic Antikythera mechanism revealed another surprising treasure in June 2022, when marine archaeologists located what they believe to be the long-lost head of a 2,000-year-old marble statue of the Roman god Hercules. The shipwreck, located off the coast of Greece, was originally discovered by sponge divers in 1900 and has been the subject of continuous archaeological investigations ever since. It is estimated that the ship sank around 60 BC. Interestingly, the marble head was ignored for a long time, as it was so damaged and covered in concretions that it was mistaken for a shapeless rock. It was only possible to identify it after divers also found the statue's pedestal, still with the lower parts of the legs intact. But this was not the only recent revelation at the site. 2 human teeth embedded in marine sediments were also found, proving that at least one person died there, unable to escape the ship before it sank. Historians believe that the vessel, about 40 meters long, had departed from somewhere in the eastern Mediterranean bound for Rome and ended up sinking during a storm. With these new discoveries, archaeologists hope to unravel even more secrets hidden beneath the waters of Antikythera. Subscribe now and hit the bell to not miss anything. Fascinating discoveries await you in every video. Thank you for your support. See you soon.